You know Richard. So I'm going to ask you about that apology. Do you think that it was sincere?
I think it is sincere if you listen to the words about what he's sorry about doing. He never said I'm sorry, Michael Crabtree.
No.
You're right.
He never said I didn't mean what I said.
Right.
What he said was, I apologize for taking away from a great team win. And I think he sincerely means that, because if Richard Sherman isn't anything, I think he's extremely loyal and he loves his teammates. You always hear him talking about how great Cam Chancellor is or how good Earl Thomas is as a player. He never says he's the guy on that team. Does he say he's the best cornerback in the league? Yes. But he's never said I'm the best defensive player on the Seattle Seahawks team. And so I think the apology is sincere in that sense. I didn't really have a problem with what he did overall. It's Richard's prerogative. It's the way that he wants to do it. I kind of feel like we're a fraternity of men, though, and those type of things can stay on the field. Those type of things can stay when you're face-to-face talking during battle. And I felt like he even kind of understood and backed away from it a little bit after the game. In the post-game press conference, he was mediocre. He went from sorry to mediocre.
That's right. Wait a second. So you didn't have a problem with the choke sign? You didn't have a problem with him patting Crabtree on the butt? None of that?
None of that. I'm a firm believer. I never had a problem with people dancing when they scored touchdowns or spinning balls when they got first downs. If you want people to not do certain things that will upset you, you stop them from doing it. Okay. I don't talk. I don't have conversations on the field, and I can be honest, all my conversations, when I do have them or when they start, they end the same way. I say, I don't really care about getting fined, and that's how people get knocked out. And I end it, and I walk off. And I don't like talking because I'm usually trying to save my breath anyway. But that's Rich's game. That's what he felt. And I can promise you, what he said to Aaron Andrews, he'd said 20 times on that sideline before. He told some of his teammates, that's what happened when you throw on the best cornerback in the league with a sorry receiver. He said it to the people in the stands. That's what happens. And he just repeated it. It was part of the emotion. Now, the guy you got in the postgame, that's who Richard really is. That's how he really felt.
He had just made a signature play that cinched the fact that he is the best corner in football now. And he immediately took all the focus off that play and somehow put it on Michael Crabtree or Aaron Andrews or himself. It took all the focus off his newly achieved greatness because he has arrived.
Is Aaron Andrews or Michael Crabtree going to be on Good Morning America this morning? Are they going to talk about those two? They're talking about Rich.
Because of all of the above. I just thought we lost a little focus on what a great play he made. Now back to the apology. I did think it was very sincere because I think he has a very authentic relationship with his head coach who gives him great leeway to a point. Pete Carroll is new school, but he came from the old school. He knows where the final line has to be drawn. And I believe that Pete Carroll sat him down yesterday, and this was all according to Pete Carroll, and had a father-son talk with him. And basically, Pete Carroll told the media thereafter, my son did get caught up in the emotion of the moment. And Stephen A. and I have gone through this many, many times. You talk to an athlete in the immediate wake of a great or a horrendous moment, who knows what you might get. Now, we need it because we're on deadline, but you're caught up in extreme high emotion. And Pete Carroll said that, like any son or daughter, any child, your child can disappoint you. He can break your heart. And in this case, I think Pete was saying he basically broke my heart because he made a mistake. And yet Pete then characterized Richard Sherman as having an amazing heart, which I believe he does, great sensitivity, maybe to me to the point of oversensitivity, and that he goes, says Pete Carroll, to the end of the spectrum when it comes to expressing himself. Extreme expression, one way or the other. You got extreme expression in the immediate aftermath of what was the greatest moment of Richard Sherman's career. Now, again, I hope he would learn to handle it a little differently. So I think you're right. He's not taking back one thing that he said about Michael Crabtree or Colin Kaepernick. Nope. It was about how he may have taken a little too much focus off his teammates and maybe even off the greatness of the play that he just made. Thank you, Pete Carroll, for having that talk. And I think making a very mature point to a kid who's maturing maybe by the second here. your floor.
I said this yesterday. Richard Sherman's words in the immediate aftermath of the NFC Championship game, Ryan, were relatively classless. He should not have done that. He shouldn't have personalized things against Michael Crabtree the way that he did on national television. Whatever he was saying about Michael Crabtree and alluding to what kind of beef that they had, it wasn't something that the public was privy to. So why make the public privy to it? Mm-hmm. When you bring up the Good Morning America point, yes, it does speak to his marketability. It does speak to his growing marketability. It does speak to all of those different things. But in this particular case, it's not a good thing, because then everything that we've said about him and his passion and being in the moment all of a sudden gets interpreted as being a bit orchestrated and disingenuous, serving a purpose higher, in his eyes. And so all of a sudden that shreds the veneer and the interpretation of passion and being caught up in the moment. Clearly, that wasn't it. If ultimately you're breeding the attention from it and you're looking at it from that perspective. With that being said, even though I believe that it was a classless thing to do and that he shouldn't personalize, I'm a fan of Richard Sherman's, because he goes out there and he performs. And he doesn't cheat the game of football by the way he plays and by the way he dedicates himself. I also know that he's very charitable and philanthropic with his time, that he cares about things beyond himself, that he cares about his community, that he cares about a lot of little kids out there. This dude went to Stanford. He is from Compton. He went to Stanford. His GPA was a 3.9. This dude is a highly, highly intelligent young man, and he's one hell of a football player, and as far as I'm concerned, arguably the best in the game, and that's what needs to be recognized more than anything else.